my dudes? Thanks for hanging out and drinking with two dudes and a mic. I'm your host, Mike, and as always, I'm sitting with my favorite dude. Gus, what do we got going on today?
We're switching it up this week.
Indeed.
We got a lot of musicians the last few episodes, and we're switching over to...
We've been looking forward to this one for a while,
films,
though. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. We wanted to have you in last season, but scheduling and stuff, we had to reschedule. So here you are, season 2. In studio, though, we have award-winning filmmaker that's worked on projects with Third Eye Blind, NBC Universal, and Sony Pictures, just to name a few. His over 40 credits include Scarehouse and his latest movie, Last Call. Coming all the way from Los Angeles, in studio, Gavin Michael Booth. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Hey, good to be here.
Thanks for coming in, especially because you were just out scouting. So
yeah.
Sorry to
always working, but it's fine.
Sorry to hinder the plans.
Listen, there's alcohol. It's always a relaxing chat if there's alcohol.
That is definitely about to happen. And the way we do it, we do a show shot right off the top of the show. We are drinking the grapefruit vodka. And I need your opinion because you've been giving us looks off air about this, thinking it's going to be bad.
I mean, I can't say I've ever walked into a podcast where there's just a bottle of grapefruit vodka just on display in the center of the table. Like, there's almost like a spotlight for it.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. So here we go. So everybody listening, guys, girls, all the dudes, cheers.
Cheers.
Is it as bad as you thought?
No, it's delicious.
See, and it's very smooth. You don't need a chaser. Although we do beer cracks after.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pour some whiskey, obviously.
Oh, for sure. So what were you? What
My
were
wife's
you
gonna be like, I thought you went to a podcast. I'm like, I did.
Can you pick me up?
It's a commercial for a homeless campaign that I'm directing in Toronto.
Okay.
So yeah.
Is it like a government one or?
You know what? I actually don't know if the organization is government run or not. I'm sure they have some ties to the government, but not sure.
Cool. That's all right.
I don't get to do a lot of commercial work, so this is it's exciting for me. Usually it's just music videos and films. Commercials are where most artists pay their bills, so I'm kind of excited to get into it more.
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you done commercials before?
I mean, I used to direct a bunch of terrible commercials in Detroit, like all the stuff you'd see at 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Come on into the Detroit Auto Garage.
No way, that's you?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, it's
awesome.
a lot of companies doing it. I just recently saw, have you seen Detroiters, the comedy show?
I've seen it before, yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time.
It's Tim Robinson. He also does that I Think You Should Leave show on Netflix. But it's a show about 2 guys in Detroit that start like an ad agency and are doing all the terrible commercials in Detroit. So like anybody who's grown up in Windsor watching those, you're like, oh, I know all these commercials.
There are some pretty bad ones.
Those are part of childhood, though.
Yeah, but also the ones that are like still on the air. Me and Dog going down the Telegraph Road right now. Get a good deal.
That is a good one. That was made in that's got to be the 80s.
There were ones that were like, get your hair cut while your car's being washed. We've also got a dance club attached. And it's just like, oh, okay, all right.
I don't know if this one's specifically Detroit, but the one that's still on, that was on when I was a kid, was that General car insurance or whatever, the 1-800 General.
Oh, he's still on, like the bad computer animated.
Yeah.
And there's the
Call the General.
Did the Empire Roofing or whatever.
Empire Roofing,
yes. And what's the flooring guys? What are those two floor guys?
I mean, there's like Melflower Superstar, come along and buy a car. And you see the bad blue screen, Superman effects flying around.
There's so many.
Yeah.
I like the really, really cheesy ones, though, where it's like a guy trying to sell used vehicles and he's dressed up in like a purple pimp suit with like a top hat and a cane. And you're just like, what are you doing?
Mr. Allen's 2 for 50.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sexy Specs.
Yeah.
Sexy Specs.
Man. So you didn't do any of those?
No. I didn't get to do the high-end ones. I was just, it was a company based out of Windsor and Detroit, and I would just, it was some of my beginning experience in this industry. I don't know if you guys know AJ Vandenberg, the photographer.
Well, we know of him.
Yeah. AJ and I went to high school together, and his father-in-law worked there too, and it was just like it was such a shit show. But it's the first time anybody hired me to do anything. So I'm like, I'll do it, Yeah, it was fun. It was a wild ride. AJ is involved in a million different projects and all the time. So him and I are developing a reality series together too in the U.S. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. What's that?
Can't talk about it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, it's actually it's a travel show. I can say that much. So
okay.
It involves traveling across the U.S.
Oh, okay. That's right. So you get to go to all these places for free or paid. You get paid to go.
Yeah, that's all. I always tell people like, man, you've been to all these places. I'm like, yeah, but I see the hotel.
Yeah.
I see because I used to shoot tour videos for bands too, so I've been kind of everywhere. It's like, yeah, I saw it, but I got off the tour bus, I filmed the show, I got back on the tour bus. You don't, once in a while you get a day off in the schedule. You're like, okay, shit, I can go explore Chicago or wherever we are. But most of the time it's just like from the airport to the gig, work extensively, maybe get a dinner out somewhere, and then fly home.
Because we saw your thing with Third Eye Blind.
Yeah.
That you did.
Which, I mean, there's
Tons.
many.
Yeah. Yeah. But we were watching, what was it? It was like a
Vimeo, I think it was.
Was it in black and white, or was it like a behind the scenes?
It was he was talking, like the lead singer was talking.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that one's wild because that was 2015 or 16, and they were, because everyone goes, oh, that one hit wonder band. It's like, no, they still draw like 10 to 15,000 people a night, like. So they wanted to just shoot a video to prove to all these festivals like Bonnaroo and Coachella and everybody that, like, no, they're still a band that people respect. They still have new fans. Like, the average age of a Third Eye Blind fan is like 25 years old, which is strange because the band's been around for over 20 years.
That's crazy.
So even though they get older, they still have some older fans, but something about their first record keeps getting discovered by it. It's almost like older college kid handing it down to their younger brother or sister in high school. And their fan base keeps kind of regenerating, which is a very odd situation to be in. So they wanted to put a video together to showcase, like, yeah, we are still very relevant. And so that video was that. So, yeah.
Well, because we said that.
Yeah, because we were watching it, and you were like, oh, these guys, I know that one song. And they're like, oh, wait, no, I know this song
Semi-Charmed
too.
Life
Oh,
or
no,
something.
I know this song too.
Well,
And then they
listen,
play another one. We're
every-
like, oh, yeah.
Every time you walk in the Shoppers Drug Mart, Jumper or How's It Gonna Be is playing. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, those ones as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that Never
So
Let
they do
You
have a
Go
ton.
single. Yeah, and they were like the kings of like the 90s soundtracks. They were on Can't Hardly Wait soundtrack, Empire, American Pie, Knight's Tale, like all of these movies. They just Varsity Blues soundtrack.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there were a lot of bands like them, Better Than Ezra, Vertical Horizon. There were a handful
Better
of
Than
them that just
Ezra.
kind of kept popping up in all these
And
soundtracks.
what was it, Rembrandt's? Didn't they do the Friends?
The Friends theme song, which was famously only a 30-second song, and then they did, shit, it's a hit, add another verse. And like, there's a comedian, Rob Prevorian, who does a whole stand-up bit about that, about how the second verse conflicts with the first verse, and like the song doesn't make any fucking sense. It's also, I can just tell you, like, this song was written in a weekend, because what's the one, like, you're still in bed at 10, work began at 8, you've burned your breakfast so far, things aren't going great. He's like, who the fuck wakes up 2 hours late for work is like, man, where's the skillet? I gotta cook my breakfast. It's like, you get dressed and you get the fuck out the door and you don't eat. Yeah.
That is true, yeah.
And then like the second verse says, or the first verse says, your mama told you there'd be days like these. And the second verse says, nobody told you there'd be days like these. But wait, what about your mom? I thought she told you.
I guess, yeah. But you know what? Like, it worked because people still listen to that song now. And it's massive on TikTok too. Like,
the first place we stayed in LA when we moved there, our neighbor was the bass player for the Rembrandts. Used to be in the Rembrandts.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. We were renting. He owned it. I feel like he was doing very well off of writing that one song. Yeah.
that's all it takes. Mm-hmm. Like back then, one hit song, and
Even now,
now, if you write the hit song of the year or whatever, you're set. You're good.
yeah.
Yep.
there's a few. There's that one girl from TikTok that wrote that one song. I don't know if she's trying to do more stuff, but she's set for life at this point.
Everything you just said in that sentence hurts my soul.
Yeah. That one person that got famous on TikTok. Yeah.
Well, obviously not that famous, so we don't know her name.
I've avoided TikTok. That was the one social media platform. Like, nope, I can't do it. I looked
Yeah.
at it for one day and I'm like, I'm too old. I can't do it. I'm officially old. Have you heard of Clubhouse yet? The new social media? So I'm on Clubhouse, and that's my new addiction.
Can you send us an invite? Because
Sure.
we reserved our username, but we are not allowed to get on it unless we get an invite.
It's iPhone users only right now, so like the getting's good. It's actually kind of incredible the level of people that are on there, and you can just end up in like hours long conversation with them. I've never had as strong of networking in my entire career as like the last month of being on Clubhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll change when all the Android users get.
Oh,
on
for
there,
sure.
but,
For sure. Yeah, it's like a close knit right now.
Yeah. It's good, and it's still new to the point where you can ask a lot of people like, "Oh, is that thing that Elon Musk and GameStop?" Like that's their only reference to Clubhouse. Yeah.
So what's the whole basis of that app? It's audio only,
Yeah, like I'll call it up to show you. Like,
or is it like video, like short video clips that you send to each other, like video messages?
no, so this is what they call the hallway. So there's all these different rooms are running, and people are just chatting about whatever. I'm trying to find a cool one. So you go
So that's
in.
the users active right now.
Robbie and I are.
Yeah, so there's 4 people talking.
Can they hear us?
And hold on a second. If I unmute myself. Hey guys, can I interrupt for 1 sec? I'm live on a podcast, but I'm trying to explain how Clubhouse works. So you guys are part of my podcast. So if you want to give shout outs to anything, now's the time.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Zombie Ass.
Zombie Ass.
Gucci.
The Zombie Ass is a Japanese film that we watched in this room as a live viewing. It's called Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead. And we're trying to convert the whole world into
What's the
fans.
director's name?
Oh yeah, the director's name is Nobuo Gucci. He's also known from The Machine Girl and Robo Geisha.
There
Very
you go.
cool.
Now you guys have 3 movies to watch. That's all.
There
I
you
just
go.
wanted to show how Clubhouse works. I'll be back post podcast.
Oh, one last shout out, real quick. Make sure you wipe your ass so you die in a horror movie.
We figured out. Yeah, he's figured out. Pat has figured out a new trope that if you wipe your ass in a horror movie, you will survive. But if you don't, you always die.
Really?
And there's just time and time again in movies where if you don't wipe, you're dead. So he's got a whole new trope. We got to get BuzzFeed or something to do an article on that, Pat. Pat might be the center of
Right?
the changing of a trope. Yeah.
That's it. Speaking of the horror movies, though,
Yeah.
you did 15, which
Yeah.
was a live Periscope movie. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've got a lot of questions. Number one is, first of all, who was the actor? Because we couldn't tell.
Who's playing the killer?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's my friend Neil Napier. Neil was one of the leads on Helix on the Sci-Fi Network. He's been in a couple music videos and shorts. I have a short called "Are You My Mommy?" that he's the lead in that.
Yeah, we were watching that. It was pretty good.
Yeah, he's the guy in that. Yeah, he's the lead. Yeah.
Oh, is
yeah.
it? Yeah, you can't tell because that mask on
Yeah,
hides his face. But so did they like have to memorize their entire script, or is it mostly improv? Like, how did he do that?
It's so 15. This was when did Periscope came out? Like 2014
Yeah,
or 15.
somewhere around there.
So, but I picked it up one day and I was just like, and my wife Sarah said somebody should like you could like instead of just having like a couple hundred people in a theater for a play, you could like broadcast it to the world. And I was like, yeah, somebody should do like a Blair Witch kind of movie with this. I went, I should do a fucking Blair Witch movie with this. So I reached out to Blumhouse, that was like the king. It's still the king of horror films. They've done Get Out and The Purge and Paranormal Activity, and I just said, hey, I have this idea. I don't have a plot yet, but what do you think? And they were like, yes. So that Halloween,
genius.
we did it on Devil's Nights. And the whole idea was kind of to do like a mini War of the Worlds broadcast where the audience didn't know that it was a movie. We just kind of let it go.
Well, because the comments back that up. A lot of people are like, "I'm calling the cops," and
and they did. They literally called the cops. People were calling. Periscope is owned by Twitter, so people were calling Twitter and emailing them,
Getting
trying
the
to
feed.
get the feed shut
that's
down.
insane.
So yeah, we had to do all the sound effects, so like the police sirens, everything's like done live. There's even one bit where like the heroine in the story, the final girl, like hits him with a frying pan, and we have somebody standing in another room off camera with a frying pan and a wooden spoon just to go punk in exactly the same. Like it was like doing like an old school radio play.
That's awesome.
But yeah, all the stunts, everything had to be figured out live. So that was. I've done a lot of like single take music videos and things, but that was the scariest because like everything had to be right. Yeah.
So that was that. Like they memorized everything.
Yeah.
So you didn't have like a cue card guy off to the side somewhere.
And the scariest thing with that was we would rehearse it, and you can do like a closed circuit, like Periscope, if you just want to like talk amongst your friends, like do a live feed.
Okay.
And so we would rehearse it, and there was a 6-second delay. So like what was happening in front of me on my phone would be 6 seconds later.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things where I have to cue people like, okay, go. Like I'd be standing outside the window, like, okay, for the roommate, go walk to the shower,
Oh.
And then when we did the actual broadcast and like tens of thousands of people started logging on, there's a delay we didn't account for.
It got even
So
slower.
like Neil, who plays the killer, and I would stand around the corner. I'd be like, all right, fist bump, great, break a leg, let's do this, He'd get in the car and drive away, and then I'd be watching my phone waiting for the broadcast to start, and like he's getting out of his car to walk to the house, and I'm like, he's still like sitting in the car. I'm like, what? I don't even know how long of a delay it is now. So I waited till he got out of the car on my camera, and it was roughly like a minute delay now.
Holy.
So I had to. I'm like crawling around the front yard trying not to get on camera and stuff, like to like adjust with people, like So yeah, it almost went disastrously wrong.
That's insane. Because you can't really rehearse it. I mean, you can, but you can't account for lag.
But also, none of us got shot, which was good because if the police had figured out where we were sooner, there's a good chance.
So that's what I was going to ask you.
Wrongfully murdered. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, guys. You can ask.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah. Like, did you you didn't call the police ahead of time and like say, hey, we're doing this, or like contact the neighbors? Or...
No, a lot of indie film is the ask forgiveness, not permission. You know, kind of like sneak into the location, then be like, oh, sorry, it's a student film. We didn't know it was gonna. And honestly, like growing up in Windsor, like fuck, I've never asked permission for anything. It's just like they don't care.
Yeah,
right.
You know, the city cares. Just if you're not causing any trouble. Like we did remember the Mike Lords?
Yeah,
We did a video for them, like, you know, the streets like over by the bridge are just like that Matty Maroon bought all the houses and they're closed down.
Yeah.
We just took over a whole street one day and put up barricades and shot a music video there for like 5 hours. Like just literally nobody cares.
Yeah.
There's like, wait, they're not on drugs? They're not beating each other up? Great, no problem. Have fun. Yeah.
I remember that video. Sauce Lords and the Mike
Lords and the Sauce
Mike Lords and
Funky.
the Sauce
Yeah.
Funky, yeah.
yeah.
I love those guys. Those guys had so much. That song was on the Scary Movie 5 soundtrack too, which was super fun.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that at all.
No, I had no idea.
They had a lot of, because do you remember they would like go open for I want to say Insane Clown Posse, but I'm wrong. It's who are the Insane in the Membrane guys? Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill, yeah.
They toured with some pretty major acts. You know, like it's there's so many bands from Windsor that have gotten so fucking close.
Yeah.
So close. You know,
Yeah.
and then like. Yeah, it's always that question of like, what does it take? What's the next thing that it would take to actually break out? But
Well, every band we've had on the show, like we can't believe that they're not worldwide right now.
Yeah.
because they're all amazing.
like you know, you were mentioning you had Bluestones on, and those guys, like I started seeing they were touring with this band Simmel that I direct music videos for. I'm just like, oh man, like Simmel's up there. I'm like, okay, great, they're doing great, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like not household names yet. It's like, what's the thing? What's the thing that it takes, you know?
Well, I mean, they're signed now, and like I don't know, their tour in October, their festival they're playing is going to be huge. There's going to be like tons of people at that place. So
And they're saying
knows?
they're playing on the same stage as Metallica.
yeah,
Yeah, and they're getting, you know, they get their music in film and TV, which is crucial too. Like
Yeah.
getting your stuff out there. And, you know, they got a solid label and team behind them. So
There's so many, like Billy Rafool. He's got at least one song on a TV show, and Autumn Kings, they were the goal song for the Red Wings.
Yep.
And there's so much talent.
I like those guys. I like their music a lot.
yeah. They're solid. And Joe's awesome to hang out
Yeah, he
with.
was a great guy.
He's super nice, super down to earth, super fun. Yeah, he's a good dude.
They're on my list to work with. They're on my, like, I love any, like, you know, I'm back living in Windsor for a year, kind of waiting out the pandemic. I'm just like, fuck, I got to get back into doing like some local music videos. Like I would love to. It's so
Yeah.
much more free than there's so much like BS that comes with, like, I wouldn't call it BS, just like so much extra input that comes from labels and management that sometimes to me like distills and like waters down the quality of a finished product. But like when you're working just direct with indie bands, it's awesome because you're just like, what do you guys want to do? You want to do that? I want to do that. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
There's no
Freedom.
rules. It's just like, who cares? Like, let's just try to make something different. you know?
Yeah. At the end of 15, she hits him with the frying pan. I mean, spoiler alert. If nobody's seen the movie yet,
It's 5 years. It's 5
yeah,
years. It's
is
safe,
that the statute? Is that what it is?
So the Titanic sank at the end of the movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Oh
But
my God.
97. I have
Yeah.
not seen it. Yeah, so she hits him with the frying pan, and then you see him in the pool. So you kind of leave it up to kind of the viewer.
Yeah.
On both, actually, we have another one. Both your movies. Well, like, is there an ending to 15? Like, does she get away? Does he come back to life? Is there a possibility that you do a sequel? Like, is any of that?
There's always the possibility of a sequel.
Is that why you
Absolutely.
ended it that way?
Well, it's interesting because there's, you know, the cell phone perspective, the shitty quality of live streaming, all kind of add to the reality of that. But she does stab him at the end, and when he falls in the pool, we had this elaborate rig in the pool where we had a plastic bag full of fake blood that was like with a brick anchored, almost like a balloon but underwater. So a brick with a rope to this balloon. So when he fell in the pool, he grabs the bag and rips it open, and then like blood is pouring out around him.
Oh,
You
cool.
just can't see it very well in the shaky footage.
Yeah.
So was supposed to have been dead, you know. And the whole concept was this guy's live streaming murders, but he picks the wrong house because, you know, the horror trope of the final girl. There's always one girl that they shouldn't have fucked with that's going to fight back. You
Yeah.
know? So he's dead, but you know, Jason's been dead how many
I was
times?
going to say, you could write him back in. Yeah.
God, fuck, Friday the 13th part 6. Like Jason's legit dead, and the guy who killed him in part 4 comes back and digs up his corpse to make sure he's dead, and then he gets hit by lightning
Yeah.
and comes back to life. So you can do anything in a horror film. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be a cool
Yeah.
sequel to do. Just the whole concept to be able to watch that live, and the comments that were coming in, you were saying, as long as you don't cause trouble or anything,
Yeah.
they don't really bother you. But I feel like a woman being chased by a man with a mask on Devil's Night in the middle of the night, yelling, "Somebody call the police! Help me!" screaming at the top of her lungs. I can't imagine that.
So that was shot in the house that I was renting in LA with the Rembrandt's neighbor. So the only people we did tell were the neighbors.
Oh, okay.
We told the immediate neighbors, like, hey, if there's some screaming, it's just a movie. But I was like, God, what a great way to actually, I'm not going to murder anybody, but what a great way if you were a murderer, set up some lights in the front yard, tell all the neighbors you're just on a film shoot, and then,
You heard it here first. Get your murder tips. So there it is. Last call. That is it right there. Hopefully we'll get you to sign that and we can put it up on the wall later. But in that movie, so you filmed that, it says right on it, one take. Mm-hmm. So the entire thing shot one take simultaneously.
Yep.
So you had two. So you have two film crews. Mm-hmm. Do you have like walkie-talkies or phones, or like how are you communicating with the other?
We're not. We were so low budget, we couldn't do any of that fancy stuff.
What?
Yeah. So last call, single take movie, true single take, because you can do like what 1917 did, where they like hide cuts and make it feel like one continuous shot. So it's real single take movie, split screen the entire time. So two different camera crews in two different parts of Windsor were running around shooting simultaneously. We knew if it was working or not because the characters are largely connected over the telephone. So if somebody on the other side, like I was camera operating on Scott's side of the story, and then our cinematographer, Seth, was operating on Beth's side of the story. So unless I heard, unless my actor and this I said, oh, they fell down the stairs, we have to cut. Like we would know what was happening loosely on the other side. But it was just sort of it's the only, they always joke about like director being God on set, but this is the only movie where I've been like, I am God. Unless I say cut, we just keep fucking going. I will decide at the end if it's a botched take or not. Because it's like, if the camera jiggles or goes slightly out of focus or whatever, we're just like, that's gonna happen, just roll with it. Or if the actors stumble over lines, we're like, just pick it up, recover it, just and ah your way until you figure it out. Like, it'll just feel more real. Yeah, we just wanted to like make a movie that felt like you were literally like eavesdropping on two people's like conversation.
It worked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was awesome. I liked it.
With one take, with a single take. Like, did you film it multiple times and just pick the best one? Like, is that how that kind of goes? Or do you just do it once and hope for the best?
We had 10 days to rehearse, so all technical rehearsal, like figuring out the lighting, all the actor rehearsal, we had 10 days, and then we only had 4 days to film. Like, we made this film for $50,000, including, like, all the post-production audio. We did the score live in a single take, too, recorded it. And it was, we only had 4 days to get it right. So our plan was to shoot it 8 times, 4 nights, twice per night, kind of like a play, like perform it once, take an extended lunch break where we watch the take from earlier, do it again. We managed to get 5 full takes, and then it was a matter of choosing which one would be the film.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
It's bananas. So at the beginning, though, you had no communication because she's driving into work and he's at a bar getting hammered and then walking home. So like how did you time that? They just knew that they had this amount of time to be like Scott had to be at the bar at this amount of time and had to be at his phone at this time, whatever it was, 8 minutes, 11 minutes.
We call that like an accordion effect of like, so the character of Beth is a night janitor at a college, and we're just like, if you finish like scrubbing that toilet, then you go to B and C and D and keep going until that phone rings. And so we kind of had like this accordion effect of like longer stretches of time or shorter, where there was an alternative plan depending on what would happen. Whenever they're not connected on the phone, they both had things to do should it run longer, or what to do to shortcut to get from this back to the phone call. Because
it happened in the middle of the film too, when he pulls the cord out and they get disconnected. Yeah. So that's another thing where they had all these things to do.
It's funny. The take that's used in the movie has the two mistakes. The first time he tries to call her, he's using a rotary phone right in the apartment. Rotary phones can't dial an extension. So it's the St. Clair's College Mediaplex downtown that's the building that she's working in. He can't dial the extension, so we have somebody hiding in another room that's kind of like picked up on the other line that's ready with a touchtone phone to dial the extension. And the first time it didn't work. So he hangs up the phone, and David, the actor that I wrote the film with, he puts his hand up in front, like, so you can't see his face. And he covers his face. He goes, "It didn't work. Should I dial again, or are we going to call cut?" Like, he didn't wreck the take. He just made it look like he was scratching.
That's
his,
amazing.
So that behind the camera, I could say, like, "Fuck you, dial it again." You know, like,
I didn't even notice
it's a
that.
misdial. No. And then
no.
when he sits down again to finally call her back, it happened again and it didn't connect. So that it's longer than it should have been, like trying to get reconnected, but it just worked for the drama of the film. That the whole conceit of the film is that he's drunk and he misdials the phone. So it only added to.
I will say it definitely added the anxiety level as a viewer.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh my God, like, are they going to get connected again? Like, how does this end?
I did. Yeah, I felt a fair bit of anxiety watching that movie. Yeah, I was like,
loads.
Like,
my favorite comment of the film played all over the world of film festivals. We got to attend a good handful of those, and most of the time it's grown men coming out of the theater looking at me being like, "Fuck you." Like, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It's the best compliment.
Yeah.
So doing that film now, because you're always pushing some sort of a boundary, right? Like, you're doing a live Periscope movie, you're doing a one-shot split screen movie. Like, are you going to try to keep pushing the envelope and do newer things that people aren't doing?
That's what thrills me the most. I have like traditional films I made. Like the film I'm shooting a film in July. It's much more traditional. I'm shooting like music videos that are more traditional, but I am working on something 10 times more complicated than Last Call right now. And I don't know, I can't even identify what it is, because it's like, I guess I don't skydive and I don't thrill seek in other ways. So for me, it's like, I'm only like creatively satisfied if there's like another major challenge, or trying to look at things like things no one else has done before, and trying to figure out like how could I do that, not to have the boast of like the first, but just like, that's fun. And if no one's done it, I want to just try to figure out if I have the skill set to even execute that.
Damn. Yeah, I don't know.
so I don't know. Like, I don't know if you can answer if it's a spoiler, if you can answer it, or if you.
Well, just give the spoiler now and say anybody
Yeah.
who has not seen Last Call, you don't want to know the ending. Stop listening for the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Skip to 1 minute from now.
Did he die? Did they get there? Like they. I mean, you
hear the
Hear the
paramedics.
paramedics. Did they kick in the door or something? Like, that's not really.
Or the police, whatever.
Or whoever.
So what we say is, if you're pessimistic, you think he died, and if you're an optimist, you think he lived.
Okay, that's a good way to end it.
But I'll
yeah.
tell you what was actually written is the door. They do kick in the door. It's there. It's just buried under the music, like kind of half on purpose. Where like, because what we had after the door kick in, we actually had. I played the voice of a paramedic, and we had like two paramedics like actually working on him. Because I'll say this: somebody has to hang up the phone for that call to disconnect, and if he can't, that means one of the paramedics hung up the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that.
No.
So that means they get to him.
Shit.
The whole point of like most movies, like the hero's journey in any story, is they have a mission that they have to complete. And Beth's mission is to get somebody to help him.
Right.
It's not her job to save his life per se, but she does everything to complete her mission, to get enough, just the scraps of information out of him to get somebody to make it to the apartment. So yeah.
There you go. So there's
it's open-ended on purpose, just to drive people insane. But yeah.
Because as soon as we watched it, as soon as I finished it, I called him and I was like, okay, a lot going on in that movie. And he's like, yeah, the ending though, what the hell happened? I was like, I don't know. He's like, we have to ask him.
I was sitting in the sound mix, and there's like, the paramedic yelling, whatever, we need 6 milligrams of something, CC stat, like all the ER talk, and then it's just like, there's something better. But like once people are there, her story's done, and the phone disconnects, and she doesn't know. So if she doesn't know what happened, the audience shouldn't know.
Yeah.
But then she gets another phone call after that when she's outside. And I thought it would work better potentially for the audience to think, oh, that's the paramedics or him potentially calling back.
Right.
And then you find out it's the other storyline resolving.
The kid, yeah. That's what we thought. Like, man, oh man, what an amazing concept for a movie though.
It was, well, David that's in the film that wrote it with me. I mentioned sort of off air that I had a school shooting movie, and that was a real, like a split screen, single take movie. Basically, we were going to make Blair Witch meets Columbine, where if kids had camcorders locked in a school and were filming during a high school shooting, a mass shooting, what would that look like? And we were going to do it in a single take. So David knew that I'd done that. David acted in a single take music video that I did, and he came to me and said, like, basically, are you still want to do that single take thing? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He said, what about a dude calling a suicide hotline? And I was like, I'm in. So we started developing it like immediately, and we quickly realized it couldn't be a suicide counselor, because when you call a crisis line, you average call is less than 20 minutes, because you will either agree to be safe and they'll end the phone call, or they have the ability to like send the police to your address and do a wellness, what they call a wellness check. The story was inspired by, you've seen Paranormal Activity 1?
Yep.
Katie Featherstone, who's the star
Yep.
of that, really good friends with David, become a friend of mine, and she was training to become a volunteer crisis worker. So David had been talking to her about that, and that's where the idea popped in. So then she became like our instant consultant on like, because we didn't want to make this movie and make it feel like a shitty Hollywood movie where we're like trivializing suicide or what crisis workers do. And the more we talk to her, it's like, well, you can't do that because the call will be, your movie ends in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're like, what if there's a snowstorm and no cops can get to his house? And then suddenly it starts to sound like a Michael Bay film. We're like, okay, we can't that works for Michael Bay films, but that's not the film that we want to tell. Yeah. And we just kind of put it on the shelf for a few days. And I just remember I remember the moment like lightning struck, and I'm like, what if it's a stranger? What if he missed dials and then it could be anyone on the other side of the phone? And that's when it kind of kicked in a hyperdrive, and we're like, fuck it, this is the next movie we're making no matter what. Did you recognize Windsor in it?
Okay, so you know what? As I was watching it, I'm like, I know that street, but I couldn't really picture what it was because it's dark.
Yep.
So it's hard to make out detail. And then at the end, when you were zooming out on Sarah, and I see the street sign there, and I was like, oh yes. Yeah. And then I googled Mediaplex or whatever. I'm like, there it is. Yeah.
Listen, I love Tom Lucier Phog so much, but Tom, fucking band almost ruined our movie.
Really?
Because every time somebody would open the door of Phog Lounge to come outside to smoke, you would hear the music bleed out. So while we're sat out on the street and she's having that phone conversation with, I haven't told Tom this at all, but you can just hear whatever band was playing that night just bleeding into our sound mix. So we had to like work very carefully in post to work around that.
We can give him shit next week.
He's on Monday.
Oh, he's coming on Monday?
Monday.
It's like, Gavin Booth says, no. Actually, tomorrow I really want to do his, what's his?
Gravy Train?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to text my wife tomorrow. I'm going to just text her.
Yeah, go nuts.
Go for it, yeah.
Hey, tomorrow we're doing the Gravy Train. She'll be like, I don't know what that means.
Are you on it? Or you're filming it?
No. I just want to like support. I just want to get some food and have some. And Leighton Bain, who was on it last week, is on, like, I've done videos for him. He's on the Last Call soundtrack too. I'm like, I missed it.
Oh, nice. But I think we should do another shot for the mid-show shot. That's what I think.
Let's do it.
So here we go. Grapefruit vodka. We'll just ride grapefruit vodka the whole show.
I mean,
we'll end on it too.
We've done it
so pretty empty.
Yeah, we've done it so often at this point. I don't know if we can switch.
Can we? We're gonna like maybe season 3 we'll switch to something.
Every season have a different fruit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So here we go. So everyone, listen, guys, girls, all the dudes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, you're not gonna like that.
It's so refreshing. Oh, that was some good Foley. That's good Foley, Mike.
I cracked mine early.
I felt like I was in a movie studio for a second.
So what do you normally drink? Just like scotch, whiskey?
Yeah, scotch and whiskey are I did gin and soda forever, and then you just tire yourself out. So mostly red wine or straight whiskey and scotch. Yeah.
So that's what you like sitting. You go home.
Yep.
After a long day of work, and then just sit down. Oh, I don't know.
I had a thing like in January where it's just like, I'm gonna buy like 5 different like cream liqueurs and try like making like White Russians and stuff and just try them out. And that was a phase for about 2 weeks. Quarantine's all about like, how do I starve off boredom?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For me, it was Call of Duty. Which, by the way, I think I'm going to go buy the disc for the new one.
I can't own a video game system because I will never accomplish anything ever again.
Well, that's all I do. Yeah. I do the show once a week, and then I play video games.
Did you play the Far Cry games at all?
I did. What was it, 4, I think was the last one?
Okay, my wife's in Far Cry 5. She plays one of the characters in it.
So really?
She did all the motion capture stuff and the voice work. And
you should have brought her with you.
Yeah.
Next time.
I mean,
we'll just do another show.
Yeah, have her on as a guest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Listen,
done.
She slums it to work in my films. She's doing much cooler stuff. So.
Yeah, you were talking off air about some stuff we can't talk about, but it's exciting.
She's in like she was on Law and Order, and I'm coming. I'm like, I don't care if I'm your fucking dog sitter. I'm coming to like the set because I need to meet Ice-T. Like that's it. I have to go. Yeah.
So did she already film that?
Oh, yeah, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she meet him? And
Oh, yeah, I went. I went and hung out on set.
really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Was he nice or was he a little cold?
No, he was amazing. He was amazing.
Anyway,
He was very, very chilled that day.
I guess it could go both ways.
That whole cast
relaxing
and crew, like they're like, do you want to stick around and like sit in while we shoot some scenes? I'm like, if I'm not in the way, like yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, they were great.
Damn.
That's awesome.
They run it like, I mean, they've been doing it for 20 something years, so it's like a family.
So in LA, like, do you get to go on sets and like meet some pretty cool directors and producers and kind of learn? And
occasionally, like I get to work in the second unit for a Calvin Klein commercial that Francis Lawrence was directing. Francis Lawrence did like the Hunger Games sequels. He did Constantine back in the day.
Oh, okay.
What else? He's does tons of great music videos for Gwen Stefani and Fastball back in the day, and everyone in between. But that was awesome because like Margot Robbie was starring in that commercial, so it was like that was the whole different world.
was she nice?
Yeah, super nice. That was right before.
Because I always hate that. Like they're really hot and they're really talented, but they're a piece of shit human.
I meet more people like in the music world just through like Third Eye Blind toured a couple of years ago with Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh well, I have to go to at least. I love Jimmy Eat World. I have to go to at least a couple shows so I can just see a free show from a band I love.
Yeah.
Try to meet them, and Dashboard Confessional tour with him a few years before that. And
He's
it's
fucking fantastic.
And we convinced Chris Carrabba to be to have a cameo in one of the Third Eye Blind videos we were shooting. So
is he in it?
yeah, and he was super. You
got to show us which one that is.
The nicest dude ever. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a really down to earth guy and super talented. That guy's voice, I don't know how he hits some of those notes.
He's
man.
he's like the king of like that emo generation of like early 2000s, like
But he's still touring, like.
Still
They're
making
still
music.
big.
Listen, man, if you build a fan base that big early in your career, like you will be set. You will always have an audience of like 1,000 to 10,000 people in every city that will come out and see you every time you tour, and that's what it's about. Just it's the longevity. It's not the one hit wonder thing you want.
I mean, I'd be happy with either.
I mean,
if our episode got one hit wonder, like if one of them went super viral, I'd be like, cool.
if I was a musician, I'd be okay with the one hit wonder, but as an ongoing podcast, I'd prefer that,
Well, obviously,
a handful of people watch regularly.
Obviously. Sorry to our two fans that are listening to the show. I apologize to both of you.
But like honestly, listen, I love What the Fuck with Mark Maron, but can he top Obama?
Yeah.
He had Obama in the garage.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from there?
Well,
Bono, maybe?
I mean, Jesus maybe
Jesus,
is the only, or Santa Claus or something would be like the, I don't know. Well, I mean, for us, like we've always talked about like where we want to go next and what we want to do. And we have those goals set out, but I don't know. There's something just about like just talking to people we normally wouldn't have the chance to talk to.
For me, it's like cool people like rule the world. So like they don't have to be in like the industry that I'm in, but I'm always fascinated hearing how anybody does anything creative.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's like woodworking or whatever. I'm just like that's all I watch on YouTube is like the creative process of like we're gonna like refinish this old wood table, this reclaimed table. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't care how long this video is.
You had me at reclaimed.
Yeah.
We that's the thing that we talk about all the time. We have a guest list of people we want to get on the show that's probably 100 people long. At least. And
if nobody ever watched the show and we never made a single dollar from it ever,
I'd still do it.
But we kept getting guests coming in here and we kept having the conversations that we do, I would do the show forever.
And
well,
that's
I mean,
the whole point.
you guys
it's just
are
fun.
obviously like the best of friends, so like you can like you just get to hang out and drink and shoot the shit with people.
That's
like,
what we said.
What could be better? You know?
I know.
That's
You could do the same thing sat at a bar table somewhere in Windsor, or you could do something productive with it.
But we want everyone who watches or listens to kind of feel like they're just like they're sitting right here in the room with us.
Like I've watched because again I try to keep my tabs on everything happening in Windsor. I am very supportive and try to like keep up with all the careers of things that are interesting in Windsor. But I think the first one I might have seen was, did you have was it Chucky Mady in here trying to break a record or
that
something?
world record on the wall up there?
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
you have it on the wall.
it's on the
yeah.
wall, yeah.
Oh, you have a Guinness World Records that was set by this podcast.
Yeah.
Right here in the basement.
There was a pool. We moved the foosball table off, and we had a kiddie pool there with a tarp. and he did the
I
world
remember,
record right there.
I watched it. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that was officially recognized.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, June
your
22nd.
podcast set a Guinness World Record.
Well, I mean, Matey said it, but he said it on our show.
but like
Yeah.
you're part of history. You know?
Yeah.
It's such an iconic.
And
event.
we're gonna have him back on the show. He's gonna sign that because we're very big into like getting some sort of piece of history from every guest that we have on. So like you signed Last Call. Dirks did his own tag. We've got the Guinness World Record. We've got Super Mansion, Gypsy Chief Goliath, the Bluestones, all signed records up here. So anybody who comes in,
have you had Denial on yet?
we were
Not
talking
yet.
about
Yeah,
getting
we're talking
on.
about
Yeah.
it,
Oh,
Yeah.
do it. Listen, I love all the Windsor artists. Dan is my favorite, like by far. If Dan called me and said, I need you to videotape something, I'd be like, I'm there.
We'll get him on.
5 pieces of his art hung up in my apartment here. Yeah.
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 Damn.
I try to throw stuff in the background of movies all the time, like, wherever it makes sense, like to have a piece up. I shot a music video in front of the back wall of Phog that's coming out soon.
Oh, shit.
Like, with his art there. So yeah, his stuff's awesome.
That's kind of a cool thing that you can do is you can put in the background like local Windsor
Well, there's
guys.
even we talk about the Bluestones and like I never know if they're like embarrassed by this stuff or just happy about it, but like those 2 guys cameoed in other I was always like, I believe in like that 6 Degrees thing where I'm like, well, you're in a band, you should come, you're both actors, like Tarek especially, like you're actors, come cameo in this other artist, because if that blows up, then maybe somebody realizes that's your, like, I believe in that like cross promotion so much. So they're in like a country music video that I directed. Other musicians are in the Bluestones Vain Vixens video I directed. Like I always try to like cross promote people wherever we can.
And we talked about, like, we're recording this episode before the Bluestone episode airs.
Okay.
But for anybody listening to this one, you would have already heard the Bluestones one, and we asked them about what they would be doing, and Tarek right away said acting. So his passion is definitely, his talent. It's entertaining.
Listen,
people.
I'll never forget, because I met Tarek as an actor first, and I'll never ever forget him coming to where I lived in Windsor at the time and being like, yeah, I've also been like recording some songs. I want to like start a band. And he played me like these like just garage band demos of like what became the Bluestones. And I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like, this is great.
He played an acoustic song down here.
Let It Ride.
Let It Ride, yeah. And one take, like the guy's voice is incredible. His talent is incredible.
We did a thing forever ago, like on whatever their first EP was, but the iPhone 4 was coming out at the time. So that's how, like 2011, 2012. But it was the first one that had FaceTime. And I had an idea to shoot a music video over FaceTime. So we got 4 iPhone 4s, and like the week it was released, we're like, boom, let's go. And we shot this video, and we ended up on a bunch of like Apple blogs and stuff too that were talking about what we did. And that's always my thing. I'm like, whatever hasn't been done before, let's do it before anyone else figures it out. Because if that's the thing that breaks, great. And if it doesn't go super viral, we still made a cool thing that will help you grow at least one leg in your journey.
I'm not going to point fingers.
Yeah.
But years later, Modern Family did an entire episode
Over
on
FaceTime?
FaceTime.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
I'm not saying they saw the video.
So it was
but
also cheap for them.
Insanely cheap.
They're like, shit, we blew the bank on that episode where we go to the carnival. So how do we say it's like Lost when they're like, what about Underground Bunker?
I've never seen it.
Oh,
I've never seen Lost.
Every show has that where there's like, it's getting too expensive. We have to scale it back. What's that? They call it like Breaking Bad. The best episode is the Fly episode.
Oh yeah.
That people love or hate, but like they don't leave Gus's lab.
Exactly.
And they're just trying to kill a fly. It has nothing to do with moving the plot forward. There's no other actors in the whole episode.
Yeah.
It's just trying to kill a fly with the 2 actors,
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, like a filler episode. Yeah.
Wonder if the Fly was on a contract, or like how did they?
Yeah, was
Do
that
you
fly? Maybe we should go back. Maybe we have to get Breaking Bad canceled. Maybe
Right.
that fly was mistreated.
Do you give him just like the best poop ever
God,
so you can land on?
I worked as like a sound guy and a grip, a lighting grip on a film that's Tarek acted into for our friend Sean Ty. There was like around that time, like 2011, 12. There was just such a like. There's a flurry of like filmmakers and musicians just all trying to work together and like do such cool stuff. Like I would not have like the career that I have at all without the Windsor musicians that like were like, yeah, we'll listen to your fucking stupid idea and let you go do it. Even the soundtrack of the Scarehouse, the Bluestones have a song on there. Mike Lords are in there. Like I try to I am very like local focused when it makes sense. Like when we did our premiere of Last Call at the Chrysler Theater, like Jeff Burrows was our MC. Like anytime I can like bring the Windsor arts together, I try my best, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Especially because like now you live in LA, so holding on to that local Windsor root is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun because I can be an abrasive human. There are people that like love me or hate me, and like rarely in between. It's one of the two. So, but I try my best to hold my roots. Yeah.
Fair enough. I want to ask you, and you might take some time, and it's fine. But I do want to ask you if you can dissect these movies and tell me what like good points and bad points are, because these are three of probably my favorite movies of all time. So sorry, guys, you can chime in with yours.
Hopefully, I've seen them.
I'm just I want to guess here.
All right, what's number? Well, you read the show notes, you fuck.
Well, I didn't read that part,
You have access to this.
but I haven't read that part.
Okay. So what do you think number one I'm going to ask him is?
Back to the Future.
Yes. So Back to the Future.
Dun, 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 dun.
Pull up your sleeve.
So do you have a Back to
have
the
a-
Future tattoo?
I have a whole sleeve done.
Amazing.
Yeah. Flux capacitor of the car. Clock
Fucking
tower.
A.
Yeah.
I love Back to the Future. So
Yes.
where I lived, my wife, Sarah Booth, the badass, worked at Universal Studios, the theme park, because they have a show. It sounds stupid at first if you haven't seen it. It's based on the movie Waterworld. Mm-hmm. But it's a stunt show, and they do it like 5 times a day. It's the #1 stunt show in the world. Have you seen it?
I was going to
They
say
had it in Florida, didn't they?
secretly a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I thought it was great.
Waterworld just should have been called Mad Max 4 Underwater.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
but Waterworld stunt show, #1 stunt show in the world. She played the lead in it. So Universal Studios theme park is also attached to the studio. So like I've seen the Hill Valley Clock Tower Center many times. And when you look at it, there's a mountain off to the right of it, which is the mountain that the Hollywood sign is also on. I lived right behind that. So my balcony in North Hollywood looked at that same mountain. So I always say that I live in Hill Valley North.
Holy shit.
Like that's Hill Valley, and then there's Hill Valley North, which is where I live.
That's awesome.
So Back to the Future, I mean, amazing film. Like there's so many great stories about that where like other studios passed on it because it dealt with incest. Like with his mom, like lusting after him. Yeah,
Disney was one that said no.
Yeah. And every great movie that's ever been made is because like fools are in charge of studios. That to this day, like fuck you guys. If you're listening right now, like fuck you guys. You make the worst decisions. You try to make safe decisions all the time, and safety never equals greatness. Star Wars, everyone fought against it. Avatar, everyone fought against it. Like every time people fight against like originality, it ruins the movie, you know. And but Back to the Future, the other thing, the fact that they shot for 5 weeks with Eric Stoltz. 5 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
But only Steven Spielberg would have the power to be like, we're scrapping the 5 weeks we shot and we're gonna recast. Like that's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
You know, only he could have done it. But the score, Alan Silvestri's score, Christopher Lloyd, you know, one of the greatest trilogies. No matter, you know, people can argue if the sequels are as good or not, but that is just one long movie.
Well,
you know,
2 and 3 were filmed back
together,
to back, like at the same time.
But just story wise, like you have to watch the whole thing. It's one like Back to the Future is one of the best movies ever made.
Thank you.
Like I don't know if there's a criticism of that movie.
There was one that I heard that they did so much explanation of things that were coming. And I guess in filmmaking, like you would know this, in filmmaking, when you're explaining why you're doing something, you lose the audience. So that's Christopher Lloyd going on about gigawatts and all this other stuff and why this needs to happen.
But it feels organic.
It does.
It's like it's not the Matrix Reloaded where Neo literally sits on a park bench with the Oracle.
Right.
And for like 7 fucking minutes sits there and is like, well, the Matrix works like this, and if you're gonna go here, I'm just like, oh my, this is not a movie anymore. You literally wrote something or like Tenet. If you saw Tenet,
no,
God, don't. It's just like it's so much exposition needed just to like get to the next thing. But Back to the Future has never felt like that to me. And I was a kid when I saw it. So if I'm a child and can understand that exposition, they're not, you know, it's not too complicated.
No.
It's not too over. Yeah.
I think it was well done. But if you watch like Zemeckis or Bob Gale, they talk about it and they're like, yeah, there might be a few shots that are out of focus or whatever. But
every movie has that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like honestly, especially when things get like remastered in 4K and HD, you're just like, oh, now I can see. Like the thing for me is it's Strickland's makeup.
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
1985, you can see now in HD like where the makeup
cracks.
ends on his neck,
Yeah.
or like Darth Vader, you can just see nothing but thumbprints on his helmet, like
Yeah.
in 4K. Yeah,
But back in the day, you couldn't tell.
you couldn't. Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
God, I love this movie. I saw that in cinemas in Toronto like 5 or 6 years ago, but like it's also become like the template, because that was the
Yeah.
first one I think to do because now there's
Repetitive.
like Happy Death Day, that's like the horror movie that's Groundhog's Day meets a horror movie, or
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow, which is like a sci-fi. It's like Starship Troopers meets Groundhog Day. But
Yeah.
what it just like, where are these original movies now?
Yeah.
Because that's
There's-
such a fucking amazing premise. This narcissistic asshole who's forced to relive every single day until he figures out what's wrong with himself.
Yeah.
But while we're also in this crazy sci-fi adventure, and they never get too heavy into the sci-fi, and just great characters like Ned Ryerson, you know me, like that he runs into like every single day. Like Harold Ramis directed that, who's
Yes.
Egon from the Ghostbusters. Like just God, Bill Murray. All-time great.
I
but
can't think
that's
of
one
a
his
better
best-
actor to
Yeah.
play that part than Bill Murray, because
could-
he's just such a sarcastic prick.
Yep.
But at the same time, he's funny while doing it.
My favorite role he's ever done is his like smaller part in Rushmore. You ever saw that? It's like the tech billionaire who's just like hates his wife. And
I think
hates
I've
his
seen
kids.
it, but I
Like,
don't remember it. I know I've seen it.
There's a scene where he's on a cell phone call and he's just such a narcissist, and he's walking across a basketball court where some kids are playing basketball, and for no reason, he doesn't know them. He's a billionaire. He has no reason to do this. He just runs over and swats the ball away from them while he's on this phone call, and then just continues about his day. I'm like, God, it's so good.
That's like the Bill Murray stories.
Well, I've been talking to the producer of that, Bill
Yeah?
Murray Stories, recently, and I'm like, God, what was it like to make that film? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like him just showing up at a house party and starting washing dishes.
Yeah.
and, like, what the fuck is going on? And then I think they said the cops came the one time or something, and he just went to the door.
Well, the best cameo is him in Zombieland.
Oh, Zombieland's
Yeah, oh, yeah.
amazing.
And
I
those
was gonna
guys,
say.
those guys talking about that, where they're like, we didn't even know if he was going to show up until like the day of, so we had to kind of write it as potentially somebody else to play that role. But just that, like, any regrets? No, maybe Garfield. Right before he dies.
And then finally, Home Alone.
You've seen the movies that made us on Netflix?
Yes,
God, I had no idea that house was
a
built
school?
inside of a school.
in a pool. Like
I mean, yeah.
the flooded scene was in a pool.
I mean, Home Alone's another, like, even the story in there where like they're like, what about John Williams for the score? Like, we're not going to get the guy who did Star Wars do Home Alone. They called him. He's like, sure. Because if you listen to the Home Alone score and then the Harry Potter theme, it's the same piece of music.
Oh yeah,
It's like John Williams is a
slight
genius,
variation, but yeah.
But that movie doesn't work without that the choir singing when he goes to the church, and how that's woven into it's a comedy movie with heart, which
Yeah.
we don't see anymore.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, everything for the writer of Goonies and Gremlins, Chris Columbus, made that. He made Adventures in Babysitting. I think Mrs. Doubtfire comes before.
Really?
No, that comes after Home. I can't remember.
I think
which
Mrs.
order.
Doubtfire was like 93.
Oh yeah,
somewhere in
so
there.
it came after Home.
Yeah, it was
Alone.
after. Yeah.
That was a solid.
No, wait,
movie,
he didn't
too.
do Mrs. Doubtfire.
But
did
I
he?
don't
Did
remember
he?
when Home Alone 2
Maybe he
came
did.
out though.
92.
92.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
But my brother and I had that on VHS, and it came when you bought the VHS. It came with his map of like his drawing of like how he was gonna like
The
attack
plan of
the
attack.
criminals.
Yeah.
I mean,
But just some of the one-liners that he says in that, like when Marv sticks his head through the doggy door and he's like, "Hello," and just
Yeah.
shoots
Yeah,
him,
yeah.
like that kind of shit. You're just like, this is so
You're
good.
the wet bandits, Harry. Harry and Marv. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, just casting those two guys, just amazing. And there's that whole story about how Joe Pesci wasn't going to do it.
Well, he
and,
didn't want to swear.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to swear, but he didn't because he wanted to keep it a kids movie.
Yeah.
So he made up that
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
language,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's just such. I mean, that's if there's a Christmas movie I have to watch every year, it's Home Alone.
Well, Gavin, here we are, end of the show. We had an awesome time hanging out with you, learning all about your movies and getting you signed all this stuff. It was awesome, great conversation. But before we go, if people want to reach you on socials, how do they get a hold of you?
Twitter @Gavin Booth, Instagram @Gavin Michael Booth, Facebook Gavin Michael Booth, I think. And is that all my socials? Yep. Or just my website, gavinmichaelbooth.com.
And what do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm shooting a new feature film called Bless's Little Heart, which is a horror thriller in knock on wood July, COVID pending.
Yeah.
Trying to keep everybody safe while shooting. And music video coming up. I'm going to be traveling to Boston to shoot. So travel during COVID, knock on wood. And outside of that, I've got a feature film called Primary that we shot the majority of pre-pandemic that's kind of in editing and coming together.
Sweet. Awesome. And Gus, if they want to get a hold of us, the two dudes.
twodudesandamic.com. You can get us on Instagram, Facebook, not Twitter.
I mean, you can go to Twitter. We just don't use it. It's just
It's there.
it just
there.
auto-populates.
It's there.
YouTube, and check us out on all streaming platforms.
And send us your shot suggestions
Yes.
on our website. Go to our website and send in your shots. We'll give you a shout out. So there we go. Great night. Thanks for coming in. This was awesome. Everybody listening, we're going to do this final, grapefruit vodka again. We're just stay true to this. So here we go. Everyone listening. Guys, girls, all the dudes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Virtual cheers.